Faith is communicated, first of all, through an encounter, through relationship. And here is, again, the challenge. How do we bring this in the social media?
Mit Herz und Haltung. Dein Akademie-Podcast.
Braucht Gott Influencer? Natascha Gurvika über Glaubenskommunikation in sozialen Medien. Das hier ist mit Herz und Haltung, euer Podcast aus der Katholischen Akademie im Bistum Dresden-Meißen. Bei uns kriegt ihr Input zu den großen Debatten unserer Zeit aus Kirche und Religion, Politik und Gesellschaft, Kunst und Kultur. Mein Name ist Daniel Heinze. Herzlich willkommen. Eine Welt ohne soziale Netzwerke wie Twitter, Instagram oder TikTok ist nahezu undenkbar geworden, oder? So selbstverständlich soziale Medien inzwischen für viele geworden sind, beobachten doch einige diesen Siegeszug auch mit einer gewissen Skepsis. Kurze Videos, die uns dazu verleiten, immer weiter zu scrollen, ohne dabei wirklich tiefgehende Inhalte zu vermitteln. Stattdessen sind Debatten oft verkürzt und je polarisierender eine Meinung ist, umso besser. Manche fürchten, Social Media spaltet uns als Gesellschaft eher weiter, statt uns zusammenzubringen. Aber ist das wirklich die einzige Alternative? Welche Rolle Social Media spielt und spielen könnte, darüber denkt tatsächlich auch die katholische Kirche nach. Kürzlich veröffentlichte das römische Dikasterium für Kommunikation ein entsprechendes Papier. Dikasterien, das sind sowas wie Ministerien im Vatikan. Und dieses Dokument mit pastoralen Überlegungen im Umgang mit sozialen Medien, das trägt den Titel Towards Full Presence. Übersetzt etwa auf dem Weg dahin, ganz gegenwärtig zu sein. Unser heutiger Podcast, der hat 2 Teile. Im ersten skizziert mein Kollege Falk Hamann aus unserem Podcast-Team, was in diesem Papier drin steht. Und danach hört ihr ein Gespräch mit der Direktorin der Pastoralabteilung dieses Dikasteriums, mit Natascha Gurvika. Die habe ich im November 2022 auf dem katholischen Medienkongress in Bonn getroffen. Und damals war dieses Papier gerade in Arbeit und wir sprachen über die Herausforderungen, aber auch Möglichkeiten, den digitalen Raum für eine moderne Glaubenskommunikation zu nutzen. Immerhin haben sowohl Social Media als auch die allumfassende katholische Weltkirche zumindest das Potenzial, Menschen aus der ganzen Welt zusammenzubringen. Jetzt aber erstmal, wie versprochen, Falk Hamann über das Vatikan-Dokument zum pastoralen Umgang mit Social Media.
Unter dem Titel Towards Full Presence, zu Deutsch auf dem Weg dahin, ganz gegenwärtig zu sein, hat das römische Dikasterium für Kommunikation Ende Mai 2023 ein Dokument mit pastoralen Überlegungen zum Umgang mit sozialen Medien veröffentlicht. Dieser Text arbeitet nicht nur die Probleme heraus, die oft mit Blick auf die Kommunikation in sozialen Netzwerken genannt werden. Das Herausbilden sogenannter Bubbles oder Echokammern, in denen sich fast nur noch Gleichgesinnte miteinander austauschen und in ihrer Meinung bestärken. Ein immer umfangreicheres Angebot an Informationen, in dem die Grenzen zwischen wahren Nachrichten und bewusst gestreuten Fake News immer schwerer zu ziehen sind, oder auch die Beförderung von Aggression und Hate Speech durch eine immer abstraktere Form der Interaktion, in der Menschen oft nur noch als Avatar und Pseudonym auftreten. Trotz dieser Problemanzeige ist der Text jedoch weit davon entfernt, soziale Medien nur als ein Problem für unser gesellschaftliches Zusammenleben zu betrachten. Ganz im Gegenteil. Von Anfang an wird hier eine große Wertschätzung der sozialen Medien deutlich, die mehr als ein bloßes Werkzeug seien, um schnell an Informationen zu gelangen oder sich auf die eine oder andere Weise unterhalten zu lassen. Sie stellten inzwischen vielmehr einen wichtigen Bereich unseres Lebens dar, in dem Menschen ortsungebunden über Werte und Überzeugungen in Austausch treten und so Beziehung und sogar Gemeinschaft aufbauen können. Um dieses Potenzial sozialer Netzwerke voll zu entfalten, geht das Dokument der Frage nach, mit welcher Haltung wir uns in diesen Netzwerken bewegen sollten. Als biblisches Leitbild dient dabei das Gleichnis vom guten Samariter, der sich einem Fremden, der verwundet und ausgeraubt am Wegesrand liegt, zuwendet und ihm aus Mitleid hilft. Ähnlich wie in diesem Gleichnis ist auch die Herausforderung in der digitalen Welt, dass wir anderen Menschen begegnen, die uns zunächst unbekannt und fremd sind, ja oft sogar hinter einem Pseudonym zu verschwinden drohen, die aber nichtsdestotrotz auf unser Mitgefühl und unsere Zuwendung angewiesen sind. Sich am Beispiel des Samariters zu orientieren bedeutet, nicht einfach nur den Account oder User zu sehen, sondern den anderen Menschen, der sich hinter dieser digitalen Präsenz verbirgt. Towards Full Presence ruft uns deshalb zuallererst dazu auf, eine Haltung der Offenheit und des Hörens aufeinander zu entwickeln, in der wir möglichst auch all jene Vorteile abstreifen, die heute nur allzu oft die Interaktion in sozialen Medien prägen. Nur so können diese Netzwerke zu dem werden, was sie laut dem Dokument sein sollen: Orte echter Begegnung, Gemeinschaft und Solidarität über alle räumliche Distanz hinweg. Als solch sind sie eine wichtige Ergänzung und Erweiterung zur lokalen Gemeinschaft vor Ort, in der Menschen einander helfen und beistehen. Wer offen bzw. hörend anderen im digitalen Raum begegnet, der wird, ähnlich wie der gute Samariter, auch sein Handeln dadurch beeinflussen lassen. Angefangen vom emotionalen Beistand innerhalb digitaler Communities angesichts von Krankheit, Trauer oder dem Verlust von Angehörigen, bis hin zu Crowdfunding-Initiativen, um konkret Menschen in Not zu unterstützen. Die sozialen Medien werden so ein integraler Bestandteil der kollektiven Arbeit an einem guten und gelingenden Leben aller Menschen. Towards Full Presence will aber mehr sein als nur eine Handreichung dafür, wie man sich in sozialen Netzwerken ethisch korrekt verhält. Soziale Medien werden hier nicht zuletzt auch als Ort der Evangelisierung, des Glaubenszeugnisses betrachtet. Dabei geht es in erster Linie nicht unbedingt um die Schaffung und Verbreitung christlichen Contents, sondern vor allem um einen bestimmten Kommunikationsstil, der, wie es im Dokument heißt, dem Stil von Gott selbst entspricht. Ein Stil der Nähe, des Mitgefühls und der Zärtlichkeit. Egal, ob wir viele oder nur wenige Follower haben, unser digitales Agieren hat Einfluss auf andere, und je mehr Follower jemand hat, desto größer ist die Verantwortung, die damit einhergeht. Evangelisierung, das heißt die Verbreitung der frohen Botschaft im digitalen Raum, funktioniert nicht durch schickes Aufbereiten und zur Schaustellen abstrakter Glaubensinhalte, sondern durch einen liebevollen Umgang mit anderen, der sich am Handeln von Jesus Christus orientiert und im Gleichnis vom guten Samariter dargestellt ist. Alles, was wir tun müssen, ist die Frage hervorrufen, um die Suche anzustoßen. Der Rest ist das verborgene Wirken Gottes, heißt es am Ende des Textes. Wer heute auf Twitter, Instagram, Facebook oder anderen Netzwerken unterwegs ist und sich dort einmal die Diskussionen und Kommentare zu Kirchen- und Glaubensthemen, gerade unter Christinnen und Christen, durchliest, wird diesen Überlegungen aus Towards Full Presence schwerlich ihre Relevanz absprechen können. Spaltung, Polarisierung und Gehässigkeit, sei es subtil oder auch ganz offen, sind dort keineswegs weniger zu finden als in anderen Teilen der digitalen Welt. Wem will man es da verdenken, wenn bei ihm oder ihr die Rede von einem liebenden Gott, von einem Gott des Friedens und der Versöhnung oder auch die Rede von Nächstenliebe nicht so recht verfangen will?
Vielen Dank, Falk Hamann, über das in diesem Frühling erschienene Papier zu Social Media aus dem Dikasterium für Kommunikation. Mitverantwortlich für dieses Dokument ist Natascha Govekar. Mit ihr habe ich über die Entwicklung einer Social-Media-Strategie der katholischen Kirche gesprochen, und zwar auf dem Katholischen Medienkongress 2022. Frau Govekar ist die Direktorin der theologischen Pastoralabteilung in besagtem Dikasterium, das Papst Franziskus 2015 eingerichtet hat. Sie studierte an der Universität in Ljubljana sowie an der Päpstlichen Universität Gregoriana. Das Interview haben wir auf Englisch geführt. Ihr könnt, wenn ihr mögt, die deutsche Übersetzung des Gesprächs gern nachlesen. Den Link zur Übersetzung findet ihr in den Shownotes zu dieser Podcast-Folge, also im Begleittext in eurem Podcast-Programm. Jetzt Natascha Govekar bei Mit Herz und Haltung. Ms. Natascha Govekar, thank you very much for joining our podcast. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Currently, there are only 4 German bishops who are using the social network Twitter. A few weeks ago, Stefan Oster, the Bishop of Passau in Germany, announced that he's signing off from Twitter for good. He explained his decision by saying that the way this platform works is not uniting people, but rather creating more division. So is Twitter, in your view, still a good place for Christians to share and discuss their faith?
That is a good question. I think that certainly we are in the era now where the enthusiasm about all these social media platforms is over, and people are getting more and more concerned about what are the actual outcomes and fruits of the way that these platforms are designed. There are people who use the parallel with actual physical places like cities. When a city gets dirty, people would probably not like to live in that city. And this is the reason why many people probably decide to leave one or other social media platform. The question is, for us Christians, really, how should we, together with all other citizens, request that these platforms, if they are not helping us to become more human and to have healthy human relationships in there, how can we request that they change? How can we request that they are returned to a public space to become ours, of citizens, and not of a private person?
I think this is one of the main problems. I mean, everybody is there somehow, but those platforms are owned by rich people who decide what's happening with those platforms. And on the other hand, if the Catholic Church would say, no, this is not a good place for us, it would be like not joining the real world, but avoiding it in a way.
Yes, exactly. It's the conversation is now maybe just beginning because, as I said before, we were in the long time of enthusiasm, eventually talking about how should we use these platforms to evangelize and so on. But there is an even deeper problem. Are these places structured in a good way? And how can we really, as they are not set in stone, how can we change it? How can we request that these things change?
Do you have an idea how?
I don't. I have many questions, yeah. And I have very few answers. But the first thing is that we, as Christians, should join the conversation. Yes, I think that we should.
What do you think are the challenges in communicating one's faith in social media in general?
First of all, as I already said, the way these platforms are designed is already a big challenge. So we have to be aware of it. It's not, I often hear saying, yes, but it depends on how you use it. If you could use it for good or if you use it for bad. No, actually, it doesn't depend only on you. It also depends on how these platforms are designed, because if they are designed to rob your attention and to constantly try to engage you in conflicts, then this is really a big challenge. How do you possibly get a Christian message there?
This is one of the phenomenons with the new social networks, such as TikTok, for example, that it's engaging you in going on and on and on. It feels like 5 minutes, but you spent an hour or something, but you didn't do anything healthy or creative, but only consuming. And I think this is a trend in social media where there's no place for deeper answers or discussions, I think.
Exactly. And I think that we have to first of all, be aware that we cannot communicate faith as if it were another entertainment, competitive with that kind of entertainment.
But you have to compete somehow. On the other hand, right? I mean, we have to stand there in a way, or don't we?
Or maybe we have to try to find a completely another space and build another space and request to have public spaces and not these private platforms that are actually designed just to earn money for some individuals. Yes. Then the second challenge, maybe it's more up to us in the sense that we usually think about faith communication as sharing information, sharing content, but faith is communicated first of all through an encounter, through relationship. And here is again the challenge: how do we bring this in the social media? How do we build communities? How can we be active for good cause? How can we avoid to react to trolls? How can we avoid these digital traps, again, that are only designed to rob our attention? This could be another great challenge. That there are many more, of course.
But these are main aspects in asking how can we come through with our values to allow a different way of communication, maybe, or a deeper way of discussing than just keeping it on the surface.
This is, yes, on the level of content that has to be, of course, more profound and not just superficial. But again, also the attitude. Is there something from which we can be recognized as Christians because we behave differently, because we listen before speaking, because we don't react to insults with other insults, and so on.
In 2020, the Theological Pastoral Department of the Dicastery for Communication, of which you are the director, launched a project called Faith Communication in the Digital World. What is the aim of this project?
Yes, I could say that the aim is twofold. First of all, we wanted to give the opportunity of really profound training experience to 16 young communicators who were selected from different continents.
So from all over the world?
From all over the world, yes. And it was really a rich experience to have them meet online every week. Of course, the first challenge was to set the time, because if you put together people from Korea or Philippines and Latin America, it's not that easy. You will have somebody waking up and another one going to bed. But it was incredible that it was possible through these online meetings and only one residential week in Rome, really to build a community of these people who are still connected, and we are actually trying to foster this and to find new ways to make this network bigger and bigger. So not only these 16 people, of course, but also the institutions that are behind these young professionals.
Who are they? Are they working for the church in some context?
Yes, exactly. Most of them work for the diocese or for local Caritas office or for another church's institution, or even if they don't, they are somehow professionally linked to the church. So our criteria of selection was actually that these people have not only a professional communicational experience, but also that they have this somehow connected to the church. And why this is so important? Because this is the way how they learn from each other. So it's really an experience of learning by doing, and learning not from some teachers coming from outside, but also from their shared experience.
Can you explain some of the contents that you are discussing together with those people from all over the world?
Yes. We had the chance to invite several experts even the experts were selected from all around the world, and this was really enriching because it helps everybody to make their perspectives wider. And the topics were all related to our social media engagement in a way or another, from more, let's say, pastoral topics to more professional, technical topics. Let's say, how do we use data analytics and so on. But this is only one aspect of this project, because then the second part was to realize a concrete outcome. So to work in a partnership with different Vatican institutions, and together realize a new offer, let's say, for social media or for a website or something like this. And then on the basis of this experience that they are having, to reflect and to hopefully share something that can be then given and delivered to the universal church.
So it's kind of an aim to empower those people for what they are doing in their areas. On the other side, it's like learning from the way people do it on a different place in the world.
Yes, yeah, I would say both of these things. And also, we are very aware how important is that these people are not just individuals, but they are part of a community. So that's why we are trying to involve in some stages of the project also their responsibles, like we have invited their bishops or their directors to participate at some point the project, to accompany this person, so that really this experience can be a gift not just for them, but for the whole community that they serve.
We were wondering, who are those people communicating to? Are these people who are interested in the church, or are these people who seek spiritual input? From what I get from your answer is that they need to communicate to everybody in a way, right?
Mm-hmm. My answer would be both. There are certainly people that have the deep desire for spiritual life and are very grateful to receive also this kind of nourishment. On the other hand, they want to improve themselves to serve better the institution, yes, church's institution at all levels, because some of them, as I said, work for the local diocese or for the bishop conference or for Caritas, but through that concrete institution, they are, of course, serving also other people in general, because if you are working for Caritas, you are, of course, not working just for the church ad intra, but you are serving or the marginalized people.
The Catholic Church is a universal church with a variety of different regions and traditions and cultures. People have different ways of using social media on different continents or contacts. What is the strategy to address the situation that there are so many different cultures and different situations, and you need to bring them together in a way to build a strategy that works everywhere, or how do you do it?
Actually, our aim is not to have a unique Catholic strategy that can work.
The Catholic way of social media.
Yes, yeah? Exactly. Our aim is actually to bring people together from all around the world, young professionals, but also more senior experts that can, in a synodal process, put their talents together and, first of all, reflect about what does it mean to be present on social media as a Christian. So is there a different style? Is there a possible distinctive style of being there as a Christian? And when I say as a Christian, what we have learned from each other is exactly that nobody is present as an individual. There are no individual influencers, but I would say the most influential thing is the community.
Oh, okay.
Is the community and the experience of discovering that we are all members of each other. We are now here in Germany, but we can build friendships through the digital world with people that are in Philippines or that are in Congo or that are, I don't know, in Venezuela. So this experience really help us to recognize that we are part of something bigger than ourselves, and this is what is the real gift of universal church. So that nobody of us is alone. Nobody is just acting in his own name, but we are members of each other, and as such, we are bringing probably different witness even in this world.
And probably this in itself is a different approach to social media. I mean, most social media is driven by individuals being themselves or showing their lifestyles and so on. And if you say that a community and the sense of being together in a way is the main idea in a Christian way of social media, then this is in a way a different approach already.
Yes, I think that we all need to rediscover the sense of community in the Catholic Church. With or without social media, we need to rediscover it.
I hear you. During the pandemic, the fact that Christians weren't able to attend Mass or other forms of worship in person anymore led to a variety of live stream services or other online faith resources like vlogs, podcasts, etc. On the other hand, we see that now, after the pandemic, at least here in Europe and in Germany, that there are even fewer people who are regularly attend Mass than before. To what extent is the digital world of faith and worship a threat to parishes and local faith communities? I mean, it's convenient to switch on the TV and watch a service, and that's it for this Sunday, you know?
Oh, yes. This is a very profound and complex question, and it is true. We have done a lot in improving our broadcasting, the liturgies. Maybe what we have not done, and we should still do, is to help people to connect the table that they have at home with the altar in the church, or in other words, to help people to celebrate the liturgy in their homes, because wherever there are 2 or 3 Christians united in the name of Jesus, there is the Lord present among them, and is not just participating at the liturgy in the church through the screen, but is first of all celebrating liturgy as Christians, even in our homes. Actively doing it instead of just watching and being passive part of it. Exactly, and doing it even when the liturgy is not broadcasted through the TV or through radio or through social media. This is one thing. The other thing is we could maybe compare our participation at the Eucharist to sharing a meal. And if I think of, I don't know, having a lunch with my parents in Slovenia, of course it's not the same as making Zoom or Skype call and watching each other through the screen. Of course, they can still have their lunch and I can watch them, but it's not participating at the meal. And I think that we have to distinguish and also to make a deep reflection about what does it mean to participate at the Eucharist, and that it is not the same when this is a pastoral care and service for those who cannot move to come to the church, and when this becomes again another entertainment among other entertainments. Do you think the situation will change again? Are you optimistic about that? Or maybe these things that we are observing right now can be also a chance to reflect and to rediscover. things can get better, maybe not in terms of numbers, but of quality, I hope, yes. Also awareness, again, as I said before, that faith is not just about sharing the content, but is something much, much deeper that affects our whole life. And our whole life is made by, as Pope Francis often says, we have to connect our mind, heart, and hands. And we usually tend, as Catholics, to put all the attention in the mind, but heart and hands are needed.
Don't forget about them. Yeah. Exactly. You're also working on the relation between faith and art, which is a very unique thing, I think. In which way are the visual media, like pictures or videos, especially suited to communicate our faith?
This was actually the theme of my doctorate thesis when I was studying missiology at the Gregorian University in Rome, faith communication through images. And yes, it's again a way to rediscover that our communication is done with words only in part. There are much more layers of communication that cannot be done just with words. Even when we speak to each other, we are not communicated just with words, but with sound, tone of voice, how you dress, how you smile, how you look at each other, and so on. So even in our personal relationships, and this is also true for the spaces. So if our liturgical spaces are empty, then yes, our vision of faith can become very boring. But through the centuries, the Church has dressed these places with images. Why? Because these walls of the space where we celebrate the Eucharist are somehow the picture of what we are. We are looking at what we are, or to where are we going to. So it is another important part to be rediscovered, also because we live in a culture that is very visual, and we risk to be somehow analphabets in this culture.
Do you think that art is something that belongs to social media as well? Maybe in the context with faith. Are these pictures that we know from churches or from those famous cathedrals and so on, maybe they could make people think in social media as well?
Yes, of course, if you find a way for them to be seen among all the images. But of course, even in social media, we are sharing pictures, and this
more than ever, actually.
Yes, exactly, and these pictures are vehicles of a content in the same way as the words, or I would say even more, because I usually say that when we are surfing on internet, sometimes we don't even click on the content, but we have already seen the image. So the picture is the first and very often also the last thing that we have seen about that content. So it's very important how we select these images, and also how we become aware of the potential that they are carrying.
Do we need better pictures or symbols to be easier understood in a way?
Yes, I don't know if we need symbols that can be more easily understood, because symbols usually don't need to be explained. They just need to be welcomed, to be accepted. And when somebody accepts them, can even accept the deeper meaning that they are bringing with them. But it's a process. It's something. What I would say is that we need to be introduced in the language of symbols, because we have lost this through centuries, especially here in the Western world, where our main focus were on rationality. And now we are entering in a new era, And in this new era, this kind of communication that is more linked to art, symbols, is becoming more and more important.
Natasha Govikard, thank you very much for your time and for your answers and for being part of our podcast.
Thanks to you. Thank you for this conversation, and thank you to all the listeners.
Soweit also mein Gespräch mit Natasha Govikard auf dem Katholischen Medienkongress 2022. Und ich sag's gerne nochmal, wenn ihr das nachlesen möchtet in deutscher Sprache, was wir uns da auf Englisch unterhalten haben, dann könnt ihr das gerne tun. Den Link zur Übersetzung findet ihr in den Shownotes zur heutigen Folge. Jetzt sind wir gespannt, was ihr über das ganze Thema denkt, über katholische Kirche und Social Media. Deswegen sagt uns eure Meinung, am besten über unsere Social Media Kanäle, über Instagram oder Facebook oder über die Website der Katholischen Akademie, lebendig-akademisch.de. Und wenn euch gefällt, was wir hier machen, dann habt ihr Möglichkeiten, uns zu unterstützen. Zum einen gebt uns gerne eine gute Bewertung. 5 Sterne bei Spotify oder bei Apple Podcasts helfen uns sehr in der Wahrnehmung unseres Podcasts. Und zum anderen, die beste Werbung ist eine Empfehlung. Wenn ihr also jemanden habt in eurem Bekanntenkreis oder Freundeskreis, der oder die auch mit unseren Themen hier was anfangen können, dann sagt doch mal Bescheid, dass es diesen Podcast hier gibt, empfehlt ihn und so kriegen wir vielleicht neue Hörerinnen und Hörer und wir danken euch jetzt schon sehr für diese Art der Unterstützung. An dieser Folge mitgearbeitet haben Dora Amay, Falk Hamann, Thomas Arnold, Jonathan Burger, Emily Siegel, Pauline Krause und ich. Mein Name ist Daniel Heinze. Vielen Dank für euer Interesse. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.
Mit Herz und Haltung. Dein Akademie-Podcast. Ein Angebot der Katholischen Akademie im Bistum Dresden-Meißen.